Athletes and fans around the world, welcome to another episode of Primetime Muscle. I'm Tim Wilkins, joined by Tarek Elgindi, the Mega Judge.
Great to be here. Honored once again, another week here with the legend, with the icon, Milos Charshev.
Our legal counsel, who looks like $1,000 an hour lawyer.
Oh, yeah? All right,
Yeah.
there you go. Accept my lawyer's fees, too. Good to be back. I loved my show with you, originally, and I can't wait to see what's up today.
We're going to need another sponsor if we're going to keep Milos around and close that nice. So if you want your logo right here where it says your sponsor logo here, or on our video wall, definitely reach out to us because we want to have Milos back, and those clothes aren't cheap. Milos, we are talking about that top 3 to top 5. And we've talked to you over the episodes that you've joined us about competing too much, too little, and the momentum that Derek Lunsford has going into this year's Olympia.
So you see, Derek was exactly a guy that competed one time a year. So he did this before, 212 division, then he went to Olympia Open 2022, shocked everybody, placed second, but didn't want to do 2023 Arnold Classic, which you would think he would be highest placing Olympic competitor, so it would make all sense. There was a lot of money. He didn't compete. He took a year off. So the last thing that I was expecting that he's going to jump in this year's Arnold Classic. Fortunately for him, he decided to do it and paid off big time, beating current Mr Olympia, Samson Dauda. It is definitely getting momentum. Then, for me, it made not much sense to do the Pittsburgh. And I must say, because I'm always encouraging people, compete. But for Derek, now you had the greatest momentum already. Now you have enough time, so focus on it. But he wanted to have that triple crown, and he managed to win the Pittsburgh and beat Nick Walker, and maybe there is more momentum. I personally think there was more momentum for him after Arnold beating Samson than here being a tie with Nick Walker.
What do you think? Were you at that show?
Yeah, I saw him at the Arnold Classic, and I thought it was his best ever. Even when he won the Olympia, I didn't think he looked as good as he did at the Arnold. He beats the Mr. Olympia. It's impossible to have more momentum than that going into the Olympia. I commend him for doing the Pittsburgh Pro, and he was the clear favorite, and he delivered a powerful performance. He was able to hold off Nick Walker. A lot of people had Nick winning the show. A lot of people had Derek winning the show. But at the end of the day, he holds off Nick Walker. I do think that he has the momentum going into his favor because he beat Samson at the Arnold. And I think Samson lost to Hadi the previous year and won the Olympia. So that's not unfamiliar space for Samson. He's been there. And maybe he wouldn't have been Mr. Olympia if he hadn't lost to Hadi. Like Milos said a few weeks ago, he goes, it kind of was a rude awakening that he needed to be conditioned. Now he goes through the same thing with Derek. Derek is going to hop on the Olympia stage with tremendous momentum and confidence. And I feel like Samson has to respond. Now, it's also kind of, we're looking at Hadi Chupin. We haven't heard anything from him, but there's this feeling that something brutal is coming, right? But this is one of the most exciting times in bodybuilding because just 10 years ago, we were saying, who's going to win second place because we all knew Phil Heath was going to be the champion. So these are exciting times. In the history of bodybuilding, we had Chris Dickerson, Samir Banu, and then we had Franco Columbu before, Frank Zane. So, we didn't have major dynasties, and I think this is what we're living.
Let's pull up the video because I want to talk about this. Milos, I want to get both your opinions on this. Mm-hmm. So now, mandatory-wise, is it 7 or 8? It's 7, isn't it? Or 8
mandatory poses.
8 mandatory. So these guys tied in Pittsburgh. So they tied in Pittsburgh, went into an overtime round. They put the ball on the 10-yard line and went till they finished. I don't know how they figured an overtime round, and I do appreciate, because we mentioned this on a previous episode, I appreciate the transparency, especially with shows like this, of Tyler going on and breaking down the judging process, because as a fan, it's invaluable. But here's what I want to talk to you guys about. So Nick took back double bye from Derek, which kind of shocked everybody.
Yes. Well, he thinks that. Some judges don't. I thought it was very close, but I still leaning a little bit to Derek. But I can totally see who thought Nick won the back double bicep.
Well, he obviously took 4 poses from him.
Well, he won the most muscular, in my opinion.
Side chest.
Bar none. Side chest. Side triceps. Some people had Derek winning. I had him beating on side triceps. And I also had him winning abdominals and thighs.
Okay. So here's what screws things up, and here's where I'll throw the ball to you, Milos. So there are a couple poses that Nick took from the former Mr. Olympia. There are a couple poses that the former Mr. Olympia took away from Samson. Hadi, as a former Mr. Olympia, takes a couple poses. Now, Big Steve does a 4-man call out at this year's Olympia.
Yes.
Nick, Hadi, Derek, Samson, they get out there and start taking 2 and 2 and 2. How screwed up does this, how exciting does this get?
It's going to be a dogfight, and we're going to all enjoy it because they'll have their strengths. But like we said, 8 mandatory poses. So what if 4 and 4 goes 4 to one, 4 to the other guy, right? There's a tie break. You didn't really define, you said on a 10-yard lane. They're supposed to be judging this exact pose as well. That's a front relaxed pose. To my great surprise, before the show, I would think that Derek would win front relaxed pose, hands down, no comparison, no need to discuss nothing because of the structure shape, V-taper, small waist. But boom, mass monster, Nick Walker looked tremendous. His waist was in, his abs were sharp, legs bigger than Derek, balance is there, muscularity. So argument, I even gave Nick Walker front relaxed pose, which if you would ask me anytime before, I would say no way on earth that can happen.
So interesting enough, Chris Cormier agreed 100% with Milos. He said Nick Walker won the front relaxed. This was as close as it gets, because one of the things that I told Nick Walker on a live with Milos and Chris was, I don't like how you're hitting your front double biceps. Carter, press play on. Look at this. And Milos suggested too, look at the legs.
They're straight on.
Yeah, stop right there.
He's not cocking one off to the side.
Correct, yeah. And if you excuse me, the reason that bodybuilders do what I call the flex wheeler, right, which is creating a little bit of an angle with the legs, they're not posing straight, is to minimize the waist, right? If you're posing straight, and what happens? Guys that have big legs, like Pakolsky, like Nick Walker, like Gudavito, they have huge legs. They go, man, this is the pose that I'm going to show the big legs. And I disagree with that. Guys, if you create an angle, we can still see you got monster legs. You know what I mean? But now you are minimizing your waist. You know, and ironically enough, the guy with the smallest waist, Flex Wheeler, decided to create these angles. So on this pose here, I think Nick Walker has to change this. And I think he could have won this pose from Derek if he had created a little bit of angle. And then you see on the video here that Nick hits his front double biceps, opens up his clavicle bones, but then he kind of squeezes down a little bit, which makes him a little bit narrow. I don't like it. Open your clavicle bones, create a little bit of a small waist with a little bit of angle here, and you're going to beat this guy on this pose. Agree, disagree?
Well, yes and no. You know, in sense, I was the guy that does front double biceps with my abs showing. I would sacrifice 1/4 inch of my lats just to get the crazy midsection. I think the detail in the center of the body is very visible. Every time you can show the muscles, show it. More detail, you know, the better. I watched Nick Walker for years. He would do, and even on Instagram, he would ask which pose, left or right. He kind of tried to stretch it, doesn't really do the vacuum, but doesn't show the abs. And then he crunches down and show the abs. And I was always for his ab shot. Yes, his waist is not going to be as small and his lats are not going to be as big. But the balance is still there. I mean, those crazy arms. Who has those arms? Nobody has those arms.
Nobody has those arms.
It's frontal biceps still, right? Before we would judge him and criticize him maybe the balance, but his legs came up. Yes, this is not the best position. I agree with you. If he would tweak like you were telling him, would look better. Samson does that, right? And looks tremendous. But this is comfortable Nick Walker. Nick Walker is never considering aesthetic poses because he's a monster. But he became now, for me, a little bit the more aesthetic monster because he's controlling his abs. You know, he's looking quite good. Derek lost the pop in the legs that he had at Arnold Classic. At all the shows before, he was criticized a little bit. Legs are down. Olympia, that he lost, legs were down. He came back to the Arnold. Now he came back. Fuller at the top. Chest were full. I mean, round. He looked more muscular, right? But legs were down from front and from the back. Which, when you go to the back, we're going to see it, that he really didn't have that pop on the quads. Not just hamstring detail.
Well, they're both of these guys are going to shut it down until the Olympia. They got 5 months, couple of months to grow, couple of months to cut. We're going to see what comes out. Derek is going into halftime, as it were, with 2 wins, the Arnold and Pittsburgh. Nick with that redemption New York Pro 3rd-time win. He's going in now to shut it down and go back to the lab. So it is going to be interesting. Nick has a lot of positivity. Derek has a lot of positivity. Samson's still on tour being a great Mr. Olympia. We will see what happens at this year's Olympia. There's an X factor. There's a couple of them still looming. We're going to talk about one of those guys when we come back right after this. All right, it is one of the biggest rivalries going into this year's Olympia. We have to finish off their poses. We're going to roll this. Charlie, if you could hit this. Milos, you really wanted to talk side, chest, and back on this.
Yes. I mean, front lat spread, definitely Derek won, but it's not the greatest pose for Derek. But this is a weakness for Nick, and he's going to have to work on it. Side chest, many people believe that he has a best side chest. Stop right here, okay?
Stop.
But I must say that Derek improved, okay?
Go back.
No, actually,
yeah.
This is still pretty good right here.
That's okay, that's okay.
Derek has come up a lot in his chest, guys.
Big time, fullest chest I've ever seen. A little bit more detail too. He's getting that, we were talking about marinated, polished, look, he's getting there slowly. But Nick is just a monster, everything from a hamstring to the quads, crazy arms, crazy shoulders, crazy chest. This is his pose. So I think that right now, for me, front double biceps, Nick, lat spread.
Derek, side chest, Nick.
Him. And now I was going to back double biceps. Let's roll the tape. And this was, I would always say, there's no way Nick can beat him. Nick told me 2 years ago he's going to beat the Derek in back double biceps. I said, like, okay, that's a very optimistic view. But here, once you hit it, okay.
And
okay, boom.
That's
Stop.
really impressive.
Yeah, right there,
Stop.
Right there.
Stop.
Okay. So, back double biceps, biceps from the back side, crazy biceps on Nick Walker. Not so great biceps on a Derek. Lats, back, traps, rhomboids, teres minor, rear delts, everything. Yes, I would still go with the Derek. But then you go to the lower body. He does have a striated glutes. Volume of his legs, it's not comparable to volume that Nick brings. Detail, thickness, hardness. Hamstring, ropes, even as Jake Holiday pointed out, he had some cross-striated hamstring.
Now, Milos, here's my question. This guy has beautiful lines on the hamstrings, but this guy has the striated glutes. This guy has the detail, right? This guy has the width.
Yeah.
So, man, you know, you can go either way here. I'm perfectly fine if I'm sitting next to another judge and he goes, man, my instinct is saying that guy, based on 20 years of criteria, wins this pose. And my judge to the other side might be saying, listen, look at the glutes, look at the width, the structure. I'm going with this guy. This is, in my opinion, one of the closest comparisons I've ever seen in bodybuilding. You can literally go either way here. Now, credit to Nick Walker, Milos, you're right. If he said 2 years ago he was going to beat Derek, I mean, he did a phenomenal job here.
There you go. And I agree with you. And listen, you're the judge. And I'm sure that you and other judges, Tyler Mannion said, not all the judges agree with him. You know, so there you go. Not just that. 3 times they hit the same pose, you might judge it differently. One time you're going to give it to Derek, second time just by the way they perform, and if they forgot to squeeze the hamstring, which he did a couple of times, here he did it pretty well. Striated glutes, listen, I would outlaw the striated glutes. You know, as a matter of fact, I posted a picture of Ronnie Coleman's glutes on my Instagram, and I get a message from Andrei Arlovsky, former UFC champion. He said, Milos, what are you showing this for? And then like that shock, like, why is man showing the glutes? Listen, it is a muscle. Yeah, it can be a tiebreaker, but I'm not so much striated glute guy.
I have a question for you from one of my friends at the gym, Lloyd, who actually owns the gym now, and he came up to me and he said, yo, Olympia man, what's the deal with this? He was talking about, like Milos was talking about, the transition between the front relaxed, side relaxed, back relaxed. And I was talking about that muscle in motion, how the judges are always looking. They're not just judging the mandatories when it gets that close. Talk to us about that.
Listen, we call a bodybuilder to go on stage, right? And the bodybuilder is off stage. We see just his face. He's in the shadow, and we call him to go to the center. As the bodybuilder walks to the center, the movement on his legs, I can tell about 99% of the times, the movement on his legs with the glute separation and the hamstrings, that we're about to see something epic or, I don't see that separation. So the motion is incredible. You can see tons of stuff. Like, what do you see now bodybuilders doing when they transition to the pose? They go like this, right?
Yeah.
Why are they doing this?
Covering
Why?
a bubble
They're covering, right?
Yeah.
You know, front double biceps. They hit it, and then the judge just takes that second. They go here. Why are you hiding? Why are you hiding? You're hiding something, right?
Yeah.
Now, when somebody is moving and they're about to do their quarter turns, right? So they're right here, right? And they got to do a quarter turn. Once they're stepping here, if you see a guy that you already see the separation prior to him squeezing, he's got the conditioning. If that motion has no separation, looks a little bit watery, trust me, it's very hard for him to flex and all of a sudden it pop out of the blue, you know?
Charlie, can you run this while I ask the guys this question, please? So now Nick is going to transition. They're both going to transition. Yeah. And whether it was New York or here, Nick has gotten amazing from the front at dialing in that stomach.
Yeah.
Now, from the side between poses a couple times, though, we're still kind of struggling with our breathing.
Okay. Last spread would go to Derek on the basis that you said, crazy width in the lats. You can't really see the arms that much in this pose. He outpowered him in lower body, but I would give it to Derek. Side triceps, questionable. You gave it to Nick.
I gave it to Nick. Some judges gave it to Derek. And I gave it to Nick. Go ahead.
I gave it to Derek. You see, he created a thickness illusion on the top by rotating his shoulder. Waist was tucked in. He positioned himself that he didn't overpower him. Abs, go to Nick. Yes, super deep abs, super separated legs. he's moving, not comfortable, changing from vacuum to intercostal stuff. You know, like you said, when they cover the abs, what they're doing and why. Most muscular all day long goes to Nick. So there was very good argument that Nick could have won. But I also saw Derek after reviewing a couple of times. My gut would still go with the Derek.
Yeah, and listen, Dave Palumba and I were talking. Dave said, I'm sorry, I see Derek winning the show from beginning to the end. And then Stanimal, he goes, no, Nick Walker is winning the show. There's one thing I want to commend Derek about it. At the Olympia, when he won and we called abdominals and thighs, he hit the vacuum. I did not like that. I talked to him. I said, Derek, it doesn't matter if you're going to lose the pose or win the pose. Just hit the goddamn pose and let the judges know that you're not scared of hitting the pose. And I commend him for that. Did he win the abdominals and thighs from Nick Walker? No. But now we're not talking about him hiding it. We're talking about him just losing a pose, which is natural for bodybuilding. Hey, the most muscular, you're going to hit next to Nick Walker. Most people are going to lose that pose. Freaking do it. Hit a freaking most muscular there and say, you know what? He might be the best one, but here I am. I'm fighting with him. When we see guys hiding, every time I see this on stage, I go, dude, this is what I do when I get out of the pool to hide my big gut, okay? This is what I do. You're a bodybuilder. You're supposed to have a six-pack. Open up. Show your abs.
Heather, we need a picture of that for the show. Next time Tarek gets out of a pool from the side
Nico,
and pushes up.
B-roll my Xenadrine ears for all of you suckers that think I wasn't in shape. Show a picture of me when I was in shape. I was in the magazines, okay, when most of you guys were wearing diapers.
There you go. One more thing, because you're a judge. You say you judge how they move and what they do. How do you judge when they put the leg out? When they spread those legs like they're riding the horse. So this is also,
what pose?
In anything, when they spread the legs, they're trying to, cover the space and make their legs look bigger. I criticized that back in my time, back in the 90s, if you remember. There was feet together, hands by your side, and then we were doing most of the poses with the feet together. They spread legs to create the illusion it doesn't look good and it doesn't make your leg bigger. His legs are going to look bigger in the most muscular pose when he hit it. I promise you. Then
I have to take my one chance before you give a detailed actual judge answer. My one chance to disagree with Milos.
Yeah.
I was told back in the 80s and 90s, I had smaller legs. Keep them together, they'll think you have one big leg instead of two small legs. But realistically, you have to have good quads. When you're going to pop that sucker off to the side, when you have that space, it's going to give the illusion that they're smaller, not bigger, unless they're big enough to cover the space.
Yes. Now, I'm going to tell you, if you don't spread them too far, you spread them less, but then you externally rotate. First, you have to have 45 degrees, and then externally rotate the knee. And just slightly bent, you're going to create that illusion without riding the horse.
Now, posing is the art of showing your attributes and hiding your weaknesses.
Yes.
Now, when the pose is called abdominals and thighs, you're going to hit the abdominals and thighs. You cannot hide your weakness by not hitting the pose. You got to hit your abdominals and thighs, right? Otherwise, you're not hitting what we call a mandatory. Now, if you have an abdominals and thighs and you got monster legs and you want to emphasize something, you can switch a little bit, open up, close it up, right? There is an authenticity to the pose, but you cannot hide what the pose is called. Front double biceps, I gotta see your biceps. You can alter something with your legs, create some angles, but we have to hit the mandatory. I'm gonna tell you this. I think we are getting to the point where guys are getting scared to hit poses on stage. The internet, the social media is attacking them, right? So much that when they get on stage, they go, oh my God, everybody's going to be scrutinizing me. Let me be cautious about hitting this pose because it's not one of my best poses. And that does not work. Hit the pose even if it's not your best pose, hit it with conviction.
Well, I'll say coming up right after this, when these guys are both going to shut it down for the year and go back to the lab, we're going to talk about a guy who has no qualms spreading his legs as far as humanly possible when he poses and taking it to the floor. We're going to talk about that guy when we come back right after this break. All right, there's no better way to say we are jacked to be back after that break than bring up Andrew Jacked, a guy that, were you in the audience at the press conference about 4 years ago, maybe 5, when he first made that Olympia, and everybody's jaw just dropped? I mean, it was just mind-blowing how big he was.
Well, let me put it this way. I'm a huge fan of Andrew Jack, and there's no better name in the bodybuilding than Andrew Jack, right? So he shocked us all when he turned professional and he went to that Texas Pro. I do remember I was at Dragon's Lair gym. Steve Weinberger was there, and then Flex Lewis, and I asked him, would you just take a look at this guy? So Steve Weinberger, of course, always on service. The second that Andrew Jack took the clothes off, the first thing that came out of his mouth was Mr. Olympia. Okay, that's before his pro debut, before that Texas. And that's coming from Big Steve, that I consider the best judge in the world. So that's definitely his potential. His structure is even better than Samson's. Wider clavicles. And then he has that natural ability to be that polished, super small waist, super deep abs. It looked freaky pretty much. In a front lat spread, you can see the abs like that looks like implants almost. This is how his shoulders is wide, craziest arms. What he needed to bring is a little bit more volume to the legs. And me being privileged, Chris Aceto asked me if I can help him for the Arnold Classic. And I was watching him pose for me and Chris, like 4 days out, 3 days out, 2 days out. It was just magnificent. I'm going to tell you this. When I watch him, he doesn't look in the mirror. And anything that I called, he would do it perfectly. Chris was raving about, wow, how great he looked. Did this exactly translate on the stage? No, I was not there to give him the pointers, and he probably didn't see it in the mirror, so he didn't maybe open up the lats from in the back double biceps as much as he could. He didn't turn, some things, but I still think that Andrew Jack, with the legs from the video that we're going to see from a FIBO, peeled to the bone, can be a threat for Samson and Derek and Hadi.
Let's get to that video, guys, and you pick it apart. So this is FIBO this year. Sassarati taking him to task. This was a tight show.
Yeah, Sassarati condition extraordinaire. That's unbelievable. But it's not Mr. Conditioning Contest. It's still bodybuilding contest. Now those legs came up from Arnold Classic. Okay, can he do more? Yes. Front lat spread out of this world. Smallest waist, wider lats, crazy abs. I mean, oh my God. Side chest, yeah. Before he was not very convincing and big, which was shocking because he has such a huge pecs. He still needs to bring some hamstring volume, for that. Back, he was always criticized for not enough condition on the hamstring glutes. Can he bring that? We saw him in 2023 at the Arnold when he outconditioned Samson, but Samson beat him on other values of bodybuilding. So I'm a huge, huge fan of Andrew, and I do believe he's always that dark horse. If start alignments is just perfect, he showed up 100%, somebody's a little bit off, but it doesn't even have to be off. He wins front double biceps, front lat spread, abs and thigh shut, anytime, anywhere, in any stage. Minus maybe I was going to say Hadi Chapman in an ab shot, that's going to be a battle. But it's phenomenal. How you beat this?
Anybody that knows Andrew Jack and looks at his upper body, the waist up, you go, man, this is one of the most beautiful structures, and he packs a lot of muscle, the shoulders, the chest. I think the mystery is on the lower half. Because he's a tall guy, he's going to have to gain more muscle on the legs to balance his physique. It's not like he has small legs. He has big legs. But because he's tall, I mean, Joe Stubbs type of tall, right?
Yes.
He's going to have bigger legs. And I think the only weakness of Andrew Jack is the hamstrings. When he poses on side triceps and side chest, we see that the hamstrings are not hanging. If you're going against guys like Nick Walker, like Derek, Samson is hanging. Now, you look at his structure and you go, nobody can beat him from the front. I'm going to agree with you that he might have the best structure, even maybe better than Samson. But when they both hit that front double biceps, the flaring quads of Samson takes the impact away from Andrew Jack. Oh, and Psycho Lewis, who was the trainer of Andrew Jack, he wanted to kill me. He goes, I can't believe you're saying that on Primetime Muscle. Yes, I'm saying it and I'm repeating it. If Samson Dauda did not exist, we would be talking about Andrew Jack as the guy who's going to win every Mr. Olympia. He just got to come in with the hamstrings. But Samson Dauda exists, and he has great lines and great genetics, and he's taking the air out of the sail of Andrew Jack.
But Charlie, can you back that up just a sec? Let's go back to them setting that lat. We'll back it up just a couple seconds. A little bit more. Right there. Perfect. Look at the detail in Sasarati's low to mid back and the separation. I mean, it's missing some thickness, but it's really, really impressive what he brought. And you put the two next to each other, and it becomes a tougher call.
Chris Cecilia calls him younger brother of Hadi Chapman. And he brought this kind of almost Hadi Chapman conditioning. You know, there's crazy conditioning, and there is Hadi Chapman conditioning, right?
Yeah.
And this is kind of, I mean, he's Iranian. You know, it's in Iranian genetics to have this.
Do we need to eat more
crazy
dates or hummus or what do we need to be eating that's coming off their plates?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen dozens of Iranian bodybuilders, and I'm going to say this: those are the hardest working, best conditioned guys that train like their life depends on it.
It was an amazing show. No, Andrew. So we've detailed he needs a little more hamstring.
Yes,
a little more quad.
I'm going to quote Sean Ray about this when we talk about Andrew, and he goes, "If he didn't make hamstrings by now, you think he's going to make them now?" Okay, so you were talking about the thickness and hanging hamstring. Can he get that much size? Probably not. But can he refine them and make them appear more separated? Yes. So I think that separation creates illusion of size. So that should be his ticket to go.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's got some room. He's shown great improvements the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Detail, especially across the upper chest, which just continues. His delts and his upper chest just give him that illusion. It's not even an illusion. It's just big. So I think he's got some room to grow. I look forward to that. The first call out at the Olympia is 1 through 6. So it'd be hard. You'd be hard pressed not to put him somewhere near that top 6 and take a pose or two from some guys.
He's a freak. I agree with Milos. He's genetically so gifted. He could fill up to have Joe Stubbs kind of back. If he gets the legs, I don't even know where this guy can go. I mean, I agree with Steve. He can be Mr. Olympia. But, hey, here's the bottom line. You know, it's been a couple Olympias since his debut, right? And since then, what we've seen is Samson Dauda winning the Olympia, not Andrew Jack. So I love the guy. I love the structure. But at some point, you got to do it. You got to get into that top 3. I would love to see him this year surprise some people, beat some people. But so far, he hasn't done it. He's beaten Martin. Martin now has beaten him. He had a battle with Sasarati. He looked amazing in Texas. What can you do at the Olympia? Get a top 3 and let the world know, okay, now I'm coming.
He definitely has this in him. I'm a huge fan, and I think time is coming. I talked to him. He's very motivated. He's also genetically a guy that can put the size on very quickly. But I'm going to point out, we've seen Derek Lansford at the Pittsburgh guest posings with the crazy quads. Everybody's, oh my God, those. And then he would show up at Olympia with the lesser quads. So he brought the quads back, and then he loses. So some guys, they have that weakness. They can maybe maintain this all the time. I've seen with Andrew Jack, 4 days out and 3 days out of the Arnold Classic, his legs were way bigger. And to the point that the way he posed them, I said, like, yeah, he can get away with it. And then that last couple of days, he lost that volume, you know, when you try to dehydrate and get more separated. Sometimes you sacrifice, and that was not good sacrifice. For me, he would be way better off even if he was a little bit more watery, so to speak, but with the crazy volume in the quads.
A little more fullness.
Yes.
All right. You know, if you want to put on that size, Andrew, it comes down to good supplementation.
Yeah. Global formulas. This is the Pro Zero. This is the vanilla. It's my favorite. It has 0 sugar and 0 fat. A lot of these supplements, they have a lot of ingredients that add the sugar, add the carbs. And if you're cutting down, you just want to have a protein shake, this is the one, Pro Zero from Global Formulas. In my opinion, the best tasting, actually.
Well, and talking to Jacob Frank over the years, his formulations are about as specific to bodybuilders as you're going to get, making sure that it was a chelation process and some of the things to make sure the max absorption is happening, and that we're not just spending a lot of money to make a very colorful urine.
Jacob is a true genius of the supplement business.
Well, guys, always a pleasure. Like, subscribe, share, join us, comment on what you think about Derek and what he has, the momentum he has going into the Olympia. Andrew Jacked, always thank you for joining us. Thank you again for filling in for Chris. Milos, this was awesome.
I had so much fun. I wish the shows are twice as long.
Yeah, you have more than enough to talk about. Derek?
Great to be here.
It is always great to be here, and always great to have you with us on Primetime Muscle. We'll see you next time.